Good morning, fellow Malaysians. This is Matthias Chang once again from Future Fast Forward. The last time I spoke to you was maybe 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago. But I'm compelled to make this address this morning is because I realized that after the California court in the United States has made certain rulings and certain proceedings were unsealed, hardly any publicity was covered, right? Was made by the mainstream press or even by social media or by the Pakatan Harapan government ministers, other than saying that one criminal bastard, scumbag, Robert Ng, one-time employee of Goldman Sachs, will be extradited to America to face criminal proceedings. I waited and waited. Nothing happened. Therefore, I felt compelled to inform all of you, fellow Malaysian citizens, the true facts of the case, what's going on. And I therefore declare unreservedly that time for giving face to Najib and his bunch of crooks is over. He's been very arrogant, speaking in parliament as if he is a virgin innocent. And the ministers and the MPs of the Pakatan Harapan coalition given due respect. And recently, when he was brought to the court for case management, and as an accused, he ought to be sitting in the dock, he refused to sit in the dock. And I remember when I was charged, imprisoned, and brought to court every time, even for case management, I was in the dock, in the Sessions Court, in the High Court, and in the Court of Appeal. I was in the dock. All right. Having said that, let me tell you something, right? So that you understand technicalities. Way back in 2017, I said there was a consent order to the district court in California that all forfeiture proceedings will be stayed, held back, because DOJ would be commencing criminal proceedings against all the culprits. Now in America, when criminal proceedings are commenced, it usually happens when the accused person is brought before a grand jury. It's like a preliminary hearing. And after evidence is deduced before the grand jury, and there are probable cause and insufficient evidence that the person must be indicted for those crimes, then only an indictment will be issued. Indictment is like a charge will be issued, and then a trial proper will proceed, and this accused will have to answer in court. That is a procedure. All right? However, in this case that happened in America, all right, regarding an accused called Tim Leissner, he was the big honcho, the number one honcho in Asia for Goldman Sachs, who was involved up to his eyeballs with 1MDB, together with Robert Ng, his junior in Goldman Sachs. Now what happened was, when they commenced, criminal proceedings against Tim Leissner, whatever documents filed in court was to be filed under sealed, under seal, S-E-A-L, under seal. That means, pending the court order, everything filed in court cannot be revealed to the public. Nothing must be revealed. In the court chronology directory, I was aware of that, but there was only a statement, right, to be filed unsealed. That means I have no access to those court documents at all until it is unsealed by the court. So to give you a big background, right? On 7 June 2018, there was an application for a warrant arrest against Tim Leissner on 7 June. And here is a title page of the application. You see? I've highlighted in red, or pink rather, under sealed. You follow me? Application on the left hand side, application for a warrant. You got it? Alright. So this application is supported, right, by a very detailed statement, okay, on 7 June, okay, asking the court to issue a warrant of arrest, alright, against Team Leissner, okay. This was not available in June because it's under sealed. And then, after the application was heard, the court gave a arrest warrant to be issued on the same day. Here's the title. You got it? Warrant of arrest, right? Okay. That is the same day as the application. Alright? Then what happened is, on the 10th of June, Team Leissner was arrested. Look at the part where I have crossed, make a cross with a circle. 10 June, arrested. You got it? Alright. And thereafter, upon arrest, Team Leissner posted bail 20 million on the 14th of June. You can see the words 20 million bail. Alright? Now, after bail was paid by Team Leissner, the DOJ then asked for a date to be fixed. Okay? Because he's arrested, right? To be brought to court as to how, whether he would plead guilty or not guilty. So, on the 15th of August, there was an application for a court to fix a date for Team Leissner to be brought to court. 15 August. You got it? This year, okay. Then, after the court fixed a date, Team Leissner has the choice to be made: plead guilty or not guilty, okay? Or challenge the proceedings. Like I say, if they challenge the proceedings, there'll be a hearing before the grand jury, and then the grand jury will decide whether or not there's sufficient cause, probable cause or evidence to justify an indictment. If there's so, an indictment will be issued. What happened was Team Leissner, together with lawyers and DOJ, reached an agreement to shortcut the whole process. Team Leissner waived the need for indictment, meaning he's prepared to plead guilty. Therefore, the need to go through a grand jury for a hearing, which can go for months, is waived, unnecessary. So, a document was filed on the 28th of August, waiver of indictment. You got it? Now, once an indictment is waived, alright, if a defendant accused wants to plead guilty, the procedure is different. There's no need for DOJ, right, to provide an indictment, a charge. What is substituted for is a document called information. Information. Because he has waived the need to be indicted. But because he's going to plead guilty, there must be some facts as to what he agreed to plead guilty of. So, on the 28th August, okay, there was a plea agreement. A plea agreement, P-L-E-A. Plea means to plead guilty, not guilty, right? Plea agreement whereby Leissner pleaded guilty. This is the plea agreement, okay? Now, I'll read to you very quickly, right? It says here, plea agreement hearing as to John Doe. Normally it's referred to John Doe, right? Because the plea has not been entered yet against Tim Leissner. Was held before Judge Margot Brody on August 28, 2018. Attorney USA Drew Roll and Jacqueline Casoulis appeared on behalf of the government. Retained counsel Robert O'Neill appeared on behalf of the defendant. The defendant was sworn, waived the reading of the information. He waived it and entered a plea of guilty to counts 1 and 2 of the information. Can I just pause here? The information set out all the facts, okay, of the criminal acts committed by Leissner. He was given a copy. Normally, before a plea is taken, the information will be read to the court to ensure that Leissner, the accused defendant, understands the information. He has read the information. He discussed the information with his lawyers. So therefore, he says, I will waive the information, waste of time. I understand everything. And that was duly recorded. The defendant was sworn, waived the reading of the information, and entered the plea of guilty to counts 1 and 2 of the information. The court found that the plea was made knowingly, voluntarily, and there was a factual basis for the plea. The plea of guilty was accepted by the court. The bond conditions, originally 20 million, were modified as stated on the record. Thereafter, the court sentencing is set for January 17th next year, 2019 at 10 a.m. in courtroom 6F North before Judge Margot K. Brody. Okay, so this is what happened. Now, therefore, it's very important, all right, to understand what were the information and what did he plead guilty to. At the particular time, in August, all these matters were under seal. It's like in camera. No public was allowed to know what's happening. Only the accused lawyers and DOJ. You follow me? And then on November the 5th, the New York Times realized that Tim Leissner pleaded guilty to a lot of things. I was wondering why, having pleaded guilty, the matter was not unsealed to make known to the public. So on November the 5th, New York Times wrote to the judge, the Honorable Margot Brody, asking permission, okay, that recordings and proceedings, unless edited or redacted in parts, be made available to all in America and the world. This was a letter from New York Times. Okay? Just to tell you, right? 5th November, signed by David McCrow. Okay? It's a 2-page letter setting out the grounds as to why the record of proceedings in camera, being sealed, should be unsealed and made known to the public. Okay? Then, on the 7th of November 2018, the Department of Justice responded to the letter of New York Times and addressed to the judge. Okay? Then, on November the 9th, DOJ again wrote another letter to the judge, which I'll bring to you in due course. Okay? 9th of November. Okay? It says here, Dear Judge Brody, the government writes in accordance with the court's November 8th, 2018 order following the letter, right, on the 7th of November by New York Times, the court made an order on the 8th of November, and this letter is November the 9th, which directed the government to file a redacted, that means edited, right, transcript of the August 28, 2018 plea hearing in the above captioned matter. A redacted version of the plea hearing transcript is attached here with Exhibit A. So, following the order by the court on 8th November, DOJ prepared, okay, the copy of the transcripts with relevant parts redacted, okay. I'll give you an example. What do you mean by redacted, right? Redacted is where this is what I mean by redacted, right? This is a transcript, right, of the proceedings, which I will highlight to you later. But redacted means it's blacked out. Certain parts are blacked out. Okay? For these reasons, I'll explain that later. This is meant by the word redacted. Redacted is an American term, basically for, right, addition. It was edited, right, or blacked out. So, by the 11th of November, all these documents were loaded up to the court website. And I've said many times before in all my previous videos, I'm registered with the Court of California, and I'm entitled to receive all these documents by a payment of the necessary fees. And by pay download them for me. And I studied all the proceedings way back from August, from June till now. Alright? Today is the 19th. So for last 1 week, I was doing my research and hope that the powers that be of the government, PH government, the law ministers or whatever, and even if the PH government did not make any issue of it, I would have thought the leaders of all the parties of Pakatan Harapan government would explain to the people how insidious, how corrupt, how criminality has been engaged by Najib. Because to today, there are so many people who refuse to accept Najib is guilty. Tajudin, Lokman, what have you, alright? Behaving like a rabbit. Like rabbit dogs. Barking and barking. Okay? Refuse to acknowledge the criminality. Allah has created a situation for us to learn from these circumstances. But these people still go on strung like a peacock. So therefore, I question, as a citizen, my right, why has the details of what happened in the criminal proceeding against Team Leissner, the number one top dog of Goldman Sachs, that was instrumental in the 3 bond issue by Goldman Sachs to finance 1MDB and the criminal Arabs, scumbags of Abu Dhabi, IPIC and ABA. Why? Silencio. Other than Tun saying that Goldman Sachs cheated Malaysia. Is that enough? Is that enough? He knows for a fact that the real folks have no access to this. He knows today that BN still controls the brainwashed Malay community voters in rural areas because they don't understand. And now we have, right, some top warlords in UMNO saying, we don't really understand, pretend not to understand. So when he says Goldman Sachs cheated Malaysia, why has it not? For that matter, the Attorney General, the police, the MACC, be very specific and explain this. I would expect Lim Xiang, alright, Anwar Ibrahim, the president of PKR, who's not a minister, so he has all the time as member of parliament, likewise Kit Siang, and others, right, who may not be holding position in the government, to spend time. But silence. That's why I only speak today, because I have to do my research first before opening my mouth. It's my habit. I do not speak unless I have the original documents with me, so that no one can question the integrity of what I'm going to say and how I base my video on. Alright? Documents filed in court. So let me start now with this. Okay? In the information, which is the alternative to an indictment, indictment flows from a grand jury hearing. If there's no grand jury hearing, I'll repeat again, we only have, the court, DOJ have only to file an information. In the information, right, DOJ explain who are the key players. Because as I read the information, there's reference to certain people, right, certain title. Co-conspirator 1 refers to Jholow. Co-conspirator 2 refers to Robert Ng. Right? And MO1 refers to Najib, because Rahman Dahlan has admitted that MO1 is Najib. And also the facts that was disclosed in the original complaint shows very clearly by reference to, right, MO1 means be his wife and a stepson. So this is how in the information Jholow is described as related individuals. Co-conspirator 1 was a Malaysian national who advised on the creation of TIA, 1MDB's predecessor entity. Co-conspirator 1 did not hold a formal position, alright, at 1MDB or with the government of Malaysia or Abu Dhabi, but the defendant team Leissner, in relation to 1MDB and other government officials on numerous financial transactions and projects involving US financial institution 1, Goldman Sachs. Okay. Co-conspirator 2 was a Malaysian national who was employed as a managing director and acted as an agent of US financial institution 1, Goldman Sachs, Robert Ng. Okay. Co-conspirator 3, the Arab with IPIC, right, Abu Dhabi, was a US citizen, was a high-ranking official of Foreign Investment A, IPIC, at least in and around 212 until in and around 214. The co-conspirator 4 was an Italian national who was also employed by Goldman Sachs. Key here is to remember that MO1 describes about Jholow. Alright? Sorry, co-conspirator 1, Jholow. Co-conspirator 2 is Robert Ng. Alright? And co-conspirator 3, the Arab Kubesi, and co-conspirator 4, another Goldman Sachs employee. Now, that is described. MO1, who is MO1? Alright? For reasons of law in America, you do not name a person in the information or indictment if that person is not charged. That's why they use abbreviations. Alright? Because Najib did not commit offense in America. The offense was committed in Malaysia. Okay? So, Najib was described as follows. Paragraph 15, page 5 of the information. Malaysian official 1, MO1, was a Malaysian national and a high-ranking official in the Malaysian government at MOF, Minister of Finance, from in or around at least 2019, he's the Prime Minister then, right? And in or around 2018, he lost the election, with high-level authority to approve 1MDB business decision. Okay? With substantial what we say, isn't it? He controls everything. MO1 was thus a foreign official within the meaning of FCPA Title 15 United States Code Section 78DD-1F, 1A, and 78DD, 2H, 2A, and 78DD, 31, 2A. Okay. Now, then, in the information, DOJ described the scheme, the overview, how the criminality, the corruption, the money laundering took place with the aid of Team Leissner, Jholow, and Robert Ng. I'll read to you. Please bear with me. It's very important. Okay, otherwise you won't understand. I've explained this over and over again to many people. Okay. The criminal scheme, page 6 of information, para 3A. Overview. Subpara 17. The defendant Team Leissner, while acting within the scope of his employment as the agent of Goldman Sachs, with the intent, at least in part, to benefit Goldman Sachs, conspired with others, including certain individuals and entities referenced above, which I explained earlier to all of you, to obtain and retain business from 1MDB for Goldman Sachs. Through, listen carefully here, the promise and payment of bribes and kickbacks to government officials in Malaysia, MO1 and others, and Abu Dhabi, and by embezzling funds from 1MDB for himself and others. Therefore, here is clear statement that monies, part of the bond issued by Goldman Sachs, 1MDB monies, borrowings, were used as bribes to pay MO1 and other government officials of Malaysia and Abu Dhabi, and also for themselves. Clear cut, huh? Money, as proven by DOJ, from 1MDB borrowings of the 3 bonds were used to pay as bribes and also for their self-enrichments. Leissner, together with others, also conspired to launder those bribes, kickbacks, and other embezzled funds from 1MDB through financial systems, the banking systems, in the US and elsewhere. As part of the scheme, Leissner, the lead coverage bank handling the 1MDB business for Goldman Sachs, together with others, including co-conspirator 2, which is Robert Ng, used co-conspirator 1, Jholow, close personal relationship with MO1, Najib, and other government officials in Abu Dhabi and Malaysia to obtain and retain 1MDB business for Goldman Sachs through the promise and payment of bribes and kickback to these government officials. They carry on. Para 19. I only choose the relevant paragraphs because it's too long. I don't have the time. Although the stated purpose of the approximately 6.5 billion raised by these 3 bond transactions was to support 1MDB projects for the benefit of the Malaysian people, listen, more than 2.7 billion US dollars was instead misappropriated by the defendant Team Leissner and his co-conspirators and distributed as bribes and kickbacks to government officials in Malaysia and Abu Dhabi, including, okay, MO1 and Abu Dhabi official 1, as well as other co-conspirators and their families, including Leissner, co-conspirator 1 and 2. That means Leissner, Jholow, Robert Ng, sapu the money, about 2.5 billion US dollars out of the 6.5 billion loan, right, raised by Goldman Sachs, went to their pocket, went to Najib and other officials and their families. That means Rosmah, the stepson, blah, blah, blah. Can you imagine that? Right? So why has this not been told to the Malaysian public? He pleaded guilty to this, Leissner. These are the facts in the information. Okay? Then what happens this? The information gives details, right? The formation of the 3 bonds. Internally, within Goldman Sachs, the first bond was known as Project Magnolia, the second bond was known as Project Maximus, and the third was Project Catalyst. Let me read to you what it says, right? In Project Magnolia, starting from page 11, I will go to page 12, para 31. Okay? Describe how the 3 bonds were diverted, embezzled, paid as bribes, and went to the pocket. Team Leissner, Jholow, Robert Ng, Najib, Rosmar, that steps up, okay? It says here. As part of their plan, the defendant Tim Leissner and others, including co-conspirator 2, Robert Ng, also knew that co-conspirator 1, Jholow, would pay and cause to be paid bribes and kickbacks to Malaysian officials to obtain the necessary approvals and to execute Project Magnolia for Goldman Sachs. During the months leading up to the issues of Project Magnolia, Leissner knew that co-conspirator 1, Jholow, enlisted 1MDB of officers, right? CEO, what have you, okay? General manager, lawyers, including 1MDB official 3, Jasmine Lu, to assist him in ensuring that all necessary approvals were obtained from 1MDB officials and others to complete the transaction in exchange for bribes and kickbacks to them. And then in and around end of May 2012, near the closing of Project Magnolia, the defendant Tim Leissner continued to conspire with others, including co-conspirator 1, Jholow, and co-conspirator 2, to divert some of the funds from Project Magnolia into bank accounts of shell companies that Leissner and Jholow and Robert Ng and others own and control. At this time, Leissner, Jholow, Robert Ng understood and expected to keep some of the diverted funds for their personal use, and the other funds were used to pay bribes and kickbacks to government officials in Malaysia and Abu Dhabi and elsewhere in exchange for the existence in obtaining and retaining business for Goldman Sachs. With respect to the execution of the broad transaction and the purchase of the Malaysian energy company. Okay? And then, at page 14, para 35, within 3 months of the closing of Project Magnolia, the first bond, millions of dollars of bond proceeds were transferred to shell companies beneficially owned and controlled by Jholow and other co-conspirators into a Hong Kong bank account in the name of the holding company controlled by Jholow. And these funds were wire transferred to and from the United States. Leissner and co-conspirator 5 also used a portion of these funds for their personal use and enjoyment. Other bond funds from Project Magnolia were transferred to shell companies' accounts, beneficially owned and controlled by co-conspirator 1, Jholow, and other co-conspirators, and ultimately into the shell companies beneficially owned and controlled by Abu Dhabi official 1, co-conspirator 3, and co-conspirator 3 relatives. You see, the first bond, how money was diverted, okay, and it's disclosed by DOJ. Second bond, Project Maximus, page 15, para 34. The defendant Tim Leissner, co-conspirator 1, Jholow, co-conspirator 2, Robert Ng, and others knew that a large portion of the proceeds of Project Maximus, second bond, would be illegally diverted to themselves and others, including government officials, to shell companies beneficially owned and controlled by themselves and others. Leissner knew that MO1, Najib, other government officials from Abu Dhabi, and 1MDB officers, among others, would receive money from the proceeds of Project Maximus that passed through various shell companies beneficially owned and controlled by himself, co-conspirator 1 and others, okay, to influence those officials to execute the second bond with Goldman Sachs. Okay, Abu Dhabi official 1 and MO1, among others, received some of these funds. Okay, that's why it's so important to understand what did Tim Leissner plead guilty to. All these facts. At para 40, thereafter, Leissner, co-conspirator 1, Jholow, co-conspirator 2, Robert Ng, and others caused some of these funds to be transferred into accounts of 1MD officials and relatives of such officials, and all to the accounts of shell companies beneficial owned by 1MD officials, including, right, 1MD official 1 and 2, in exchange for assistance in obtaining and retaining business for US Goldman Sachs. Third bond, Project Catalyst. In or about November 2012, despite having raised $3 billion in the prior 11 months, bond 1 and 2, sought to raise additional $3 million through a bond issue known internally in Goldman Sachs as Project Catalyst. As they had with the two prior 1MD bond issuance, the defendant team Leissner, co-conspirator 4, another Goldman Sachs officer, and others continue to work with co-conspirator 1, Jholow, as an intermediary between Goldman Sachs, 1MD officials, MO1, and other government officials. Project Catalyst bond issued on about March 1913. Some of the approximately $3 billion US dollar raised by this bond issue was transferred by defendant team Leissner and Jholow, right, to account by and the direction of Jholow. Paragraph 44. Following the closing of Project Catalyst to the end of 2014, the defendant team Leissner and his co-conspirators continued to pay bribes and kickbacks to certain 1MD officials and others. And the process of Project Catalyst and other 1MD transactions to influence these officials to give a role to Goldman Sachs. And this is important. These bribes and kickbacks included transferring millions of dollars to the account of shell companies beneficially owned and controlled, okay, by 1MDB official 2 and 1MDB official 3. I believe the Casey Tang and Jasmine Lu. And transferring approximately 1.3 million to the account of a New York jeweler to pay for jewelry for the wife of Malaysian official 1. Here you are. One direct evidence that 1MDB money was paid to a jeweler for jewelry for the wife of who? Rosmah, for Najib. Here. Okay? Between in and around June 2012 and October 2015, more than 200 million of the proceeds of 3 1MDB bonds and other 1MDB business was transferred by co-conspirator 1 Jholow or its direction to accounts beneficially owned and controlled by defendant team Leissner and co-conspirator 5. From these facts, okay, 2 counts were levied against team Leissner. Okay, so in the information, DOJ set up, right, the facts, the criminality, the acts of crimes, right, the evidence about the crime from the 3 bond issues, Magnolia, Maximus, and Catalyst. And all these monies were diverted, converted, paid through and transferred out, money laundered out from various shell companies from USA to other parts of the world, and then to their own pockets and paid as bribes, inducements to officials of Abu Dhabi, right, and officials of Malaysian government. And it was mentioned specifically MO1, Najib, and Rosmah. Okay? This is this information. The information is a substitute for indictment. If there's no indictment, the court, DOJ must prepare the information so as to enable Team Leissner to know on what facts, what criminal acts, and what law has been breached. There are 2 counts, okay? So what happened was on the 28th of August, okay, Team Leissner, okay, was brought to the court. Right, because they want to plead guilty. It's a long document. This is like the plea agreement, sealed proceedings. This is the title picture. At the material time, this was sealed. It was held in camera. See the word sealed proceedings? Okay. Got it, right? Then after New York Times wrote to the court, okay, 5th November, for the unsealment of these proceedings, for which DOJ replied on the 7th of November, and a court ordered that the documents, the proceedings be unsealed, and the DOJ will prepare the transcript with certain parts edited. This is that official transcript, right? What took place on the 28th of August? Now the key part to save time is this. Now before someone, even in Malaysia, an accused person pleads guilty, the court must ensure that no hanky-panky, no coercion, no inducement, that the accused is not, gila, alright, of unsound mind, alright, there was no pressure, no inducement, that he understood everything. So part of the proceedings was to ensure that when Team Leissner plead guilty to the facts, he do so willingly, knowingly, and voluntarily. So no one can say the Team Leissner, right, was coerced or induced because the penalty was great. I believe maximum penalty can be up to 20 years in the 2 counts. Okay? A huge fines. So you ask yourself, why did Team Leissner plead guilty? Right? Because Allah works in mysterious ways. Let me continue. Page 34. The court asked Leissner, Mr. Leissner, what is your plea to count 1 of the indictment, charging you with conspiracy to violate the Foreign Corrupt Practice Act? Guilty or not guilty? Team Leissner replied, guilty. The court then asked, what is your plea to count 2 of the indictment, charging you with conspiracy to commit? The court used the word indictment, right? But actually it's wrong. Then the court corrected himself, right? Say it's not indictment, it should be information. What is a plea to count 2 of the indictment, charging you with conspiracy to commit? I'm sorry, I'm saying indictment. As my courtroom deputy pointed out, should be pleading guilty to information. There's no indictment. Okay? So the court says, sorry, Leissner, there's no indictment. I used the word wrongly. It should be, what do you plead guilty to information? Same effect, right? Okay. The defense says, yes, plead guilty to count 2. Okay. What is your plea to count 2 of information, charging you with conspiracy to commit money laundering? Money laundering. Guilty or not guilty? Team Leissner replied, guilty. The court then asked, are you making the plea of guilty voluntarily and of your own free will? Team Leissner replied, yes, Your Honor. Then the court said, look, I must be very sure, but make sure that he knows what he's saying, right? So the court asked this question. So I need you to tell me, in your own words, what you did to make you guilty of counts 1 and 2. Keeping in mind the elements of the crimes as we discussed earlier in the proceedings. So the judge want to make sure, right, why Team Leissner plead guilty. So can you say in your own words why? Right? Because you say you do so knowingly, right, voluntarily, without coercion or inducement. So Team Leissner says, Your Honor, I wrote a statement, all right, to show his understanding how grievous, how serious the crime, and why, all right, he pleaded guilty. Okay? He then say that he was, at page 36, at all material times, working for Goldman Sachs. Okay? Okay. And then, he then said, at page 37, after all the introduction, right, I understood 1MDB was created to pursue investment and develop projects for the economic benefit of Malaysia and its people. I entered into a conspiracy with those individuals identified in the government's information, which I read to you. Okay? He admitted it. To pay bribes and kickbacks to obtain and retain business for 1MDB for Goldman Sachs. Then the court says, including the person identified as the intermediary who then dealt with, yes. Then the court said, right? I mean, because the court can't say, cannot name the individual. Just say, also, you refer to the intermediary. Tim Leissner says, that individual, the intermediary, would be Jholow that you're referring to, the court, right? I think as conspirator number one in the information, right? In the information, conspirator number one has been now clearly identified and described by Tim Leissner as Jholow. Okay, then it goes on to say, the goal of paying bribes and kickbacks was to influence the government officials to take official action so that Goldman Sachs would receive business from 1MDB. I took part in the process of paying some of those bribes and kickbacks. I also knew that some of the funds that would be used to pay bribes and kickbacks to government officials would move through US banking system. I knew that the funds derived from Project Magnolia, specifically mentioned in the information, would be diverted to me and others, including government officials, to shell companies beneficially owned and controlled by myself and others in US dollars, and those financial transactions will be processed through the United States. I knew that the use of shell companies in these funds were designed, at least in part, to conceal, disguise the nature, location, source, ownership, and central and control of the diverted and stolen funds. On about October 10, 2014, I caused approximately 4.1 million to be wire transferred from a foreign bank account controlled by myself and another individual to a US bank account in New York, Jholow, in part to pay for jewelry for the wife of Malaysian government official, MO1. I understood that this payment to the New York Jholow was intended to benefit the Malaysian government official, MO1, and his wife, in order to influence the government official to take official acts that would help provide 1MD business to Goldman Sachs for the benefit of Goldman Sachs and myself. I conspired with other employees and agents of Goldman Sachs, including the fact that Jholow, who's identified as conspirator 1 in the information, was acting as an intermediary for and on behalf of Goldman Sachs, 1MDB, and the Malaysian and Abu Dhabi officials. As stated in the information, on one occasion in 2012, I told a committee at Goldman Sachs that Jholow was not involved in one of these bond transactions. This was not true. I knew that concealing Jholow's involvement as an intermediary was contrary to Goldman Sachs' stated internal policies and procedures. I and several other employees of Goldman Sachs at the time also concealed that we knew that Jholow was promising and paying bribes and kickbacks to foreign officials to obtain and retain 1MD business for Goldman Sachs, for the benefit of Goldman Sachs and myself, and using some of the proceeds of the 1MD bonds to do so. Okay? As a result of all these bribes and kickbacks and the movement of money funds and money through bribes and kickbacks, Goldman Sachs received substantial business from 1MDB. Okay? And then at page 42, the court asks, right? Okay, based on the information given to me, my observation of Mr. Leissner and his demeanor here in the courthouse, representation of counsel, and information from the government, I find that you, Mr. Tim Leissner, are fully competent and capable of entering into an informed plea, and that you are aware of the nature of the charges and the consequences of pleading guilty. And that plea of guilty have to both counts of information is knowingly and voluntarily and is also supported by independent basis. In fact, containing the essential elements of the offence, and so I therefore accept the plea of guilty to both counts of the information and adjudicate you guilty of both offences. So the court accepted the plea as correct. Alright? Now, just to show you that it's not something, a simple crime was committed. Because at page 20, alright, the court informed Tim Leissner what are the consequences of pleading guilty besides going to jail. I read to you at page 20, right? Line 11. The court saying that what are the consequences, right, of pleading guilty? What is restitution? Make good the loss suffered by 1MDB. Restitution is mandatory for this count, and you will be required to repay the full amount of the victim's losses as determined at sentencing. Okay, how much is the loss? Do you understand that? Team Leissner says, yes, Your Honor. The court says, you also agree to 43,700,000 to forfeiture as set forth in the agreement in paragraph 6 to 12. Can you imagine that? He's agreed, Team Leissner, in paragraph 6 to 12, to have 43 million US dollars, 43,700,000 forfeited. Now, if that sum times 4, my God, 43 million US, he has agreed to be forfeited. Can you imagine how much he has siphoned? We don't know yet. But thus far, he agreed that at least 43,700,000 US to be forfeited. Okay? And then he says here, with regard to count 2, conspiracy to commit money laundering, there is a maximum term of imprisonment of 20 years, no minimum. You also face on this count a maximum fine of 500,000 or twice the value of the monetary instrument or funds involved in a transfer. Twice, whichever is greater. That means minimum 500,000, maximum can be twice the amount of the value of the transfer. You face restitution also on this count. And the criminal forfeiture agreement is consistent with the criminal forfeiture on the other count. Do you understand that? Team Leissner replied, yes, Your Honor. Can you see now? How serious is the offense? Now, can you tell me, my fellow citizens, some of you have criticized me that I'm criticizing Pakatan Harapan. I'm only doing so because the official opposition in Parliament, which some ministers of Pakatan Harapan says will be their check and balance, are keeping quiet. Do you expect the criminals to talk about the criminality? Do you expect the criminals to expose their boss when they have been charged in similar crimes? Aziz Satamo Haji, Kunat, right? Isa, the line. Please laugh, for heaven's sake. Pakatan. If they can be quiet, and you have all these things, I presume law ministers will have these things. AG will have these things. Otherwise, why would Tun say Goldman Sachs cheated us? I don't know whether it was advised or not. Irrelevant. Because there's a lacuna, a failure to provide information to you good people. I'm coming to do this because I take my duty as a citizen, as a watchdog, very seriously. I do not believe to be armchair critique. So last time, everybody afraid to talk, no? Because Najib was so powerful. Arrest another Sosma. They say, Matthias, I can't talk lah. I got family. I got business to run. I got children to protect. As if I don't have business, I have a law firm to run. I have a family, I have children, I have chuchu also. But if I keep my mouth shut, and I refuse to talk, I commit a great sin in the face of Allah. Because in the Quran, justice is the second highest duty to piety to Allah. Uphold justice. Check the Quran, please. And don't give an excuse. Now that Pakatan Harapan is in power, no more threat of imprisonment under SOSMA, and yet assholes, biased asshole parade and say this and that without putting sources to trap me, right? To go viral on unsubstantiated allegations. When I ask them, what is your source? They can't tell me. That's why I hold on. It came out on the 10th of November, 2019. Okay, including weekends. I waited. In the meantime, I can tell you, I studied this, even over the weekend. Okay? And I told some of my associates, please help me. So that today when I address you, I have everything at my fingertips. The actual documents. Okay? I'm very current. So please, my dear fellow citizens, why can't you do the minimum? Go and contact your ADUN, your MPs at least, and tell them, do you know this? Why all of a sudden, Robert Ng is extradited to America to face charges? Who is he? Have you heard of Robert Ng? The number 2 man in Asia next to Leissner? You see? Your faith, your belief in justice, in truth, must be grounded on actual facts. Cannot be on vacuum. And your determination, your resilience to fight for truth, for the future of your family, for your children, grandchildren, must be based on concrete evidence and facts to show how evil is that criminal bastard, Najib, the scumbag, Issa, and others charged with education, Rosma, the whole bunch. The whole country is destroyed. And like I said, booming economy equals UMNO economy. UMNO warlords control. Lot of money. Tunku Razali says at least 100 million. And of course the idiot, right, Raja Petra, on, mouthpiece of Najib says it could be 500 billion. It doesn't matter how much, right? The fact is, these Malay leaders has betrayed their Muslim compatriots and people. They say they will fight for Islam, Malay race, and what have you. By their action, the scumbags have destroyed the Malay communist economy and the country's economy. Sabotage the economy. Sabotage. And this arouse your anger. But of course, when you're angry, you must temper your anger with action based on facts and evidence to educate, to share. That's what I'm doing. But assholes, Pakatan Harapan leader says, right, I can't criticize them. Oh, when I whack Najib, they were very happy, cheer me on. But in so as Pakatan Harapan, they are virgins, they could commit sins, can't criticize them. Nah, okay? I will be the check and balance as my conscience dictates. I will be the check and balance as justice dictates. I will be check and balance as truth dictates, as Allah guide me in my action. So I hope you now know. It's not easy to do this. I have to spend money as well. So I was charged, understand, for SOSMA. Treated as a terrorist. Let me say to all of you, right? Before Pakatan Harapan leaders, before you amend any laws, right? Ask yourself, what was the objective of those laws initially? Why was the fence built? To keep people out? Right? Or to keep people coming in? SOSMA, even though I'm a victim, can be applied correctly. I was charged with sabotaging the economy. As a lawyer advising a client to lodge correct police report so that he will not be accused of filing false reports in other countries, because all the other countries have different laws. And I was charged with sabotaging the economy. Nothing, right? And I was acquitted. But here you have Najib Rosma and also a bunch of criminal assholes, scumbags, destroyed our country's reputation, our economy, with 1 trillion in debts. And the government says we're in debt because of Najib. But his action has not destroyed the economy or sabotaged the economy and commit crimes. The very crimes of corruption and money laundering are also crimes of sabotage, of destroying the economy. So by right, they come under security offences because they threaten the very security of a country. If there's chaos, economic collapse, we will collapse. And yet, he's not arrested under SOSMA. He wears his suit, He played in parliament and talked cock and bull. And refused to enter the dock. Right? I had to wear the orange uniform. He wears suits to go to court. Bravado. Rubbish! Just because the Prime Minister, we are all equal before the law. I was humiliated. My family suffered, but we were strong. We were resilient. We believe in Allah. We believe in God's justice. That's why we're not intimidated. We were not intimidated. Because we knew that justice would prevail. Utamakan Allah, bukan Najib. That was a clarion call to myself and to my family. God come first. Therefore, I appeal to Tun Mahathir, to the law ministers, to the AG. Why have you not invoked the provision of SOSMA, read in conjunction with the penal code, that Najib has committed, and his bunch of cronies has committed offences under the provisions of SOSMA and the penal code, sabotaging the economy. If you know there was injustice done to me and my client, then you owe a duty to God, to Allah, to ensure that justice prevail by the same punishment and same procedure be meted out to Najib and scumbags. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm not vindictive. You all say law must its course. Then what is the law? I, for one, will not ask for the abolition or repeal of SOSMA. All laws, no matter how good, can be abused. Alright? Can be abused. Even under the penal code, death penalty. Alright? It can even harm an innocent person. Okay? Doesn't mean if death penalty is abolished and life imprisonment is substituted, right? There's will be no injustice. Huh? A person can be found guilty and sentenced for life imprisonment in certain circumstances worse than death penalty. You try and see. To be in a cell for life, it can be a worse punishment than death. Because if it's innocent and is wrongly accused, it's hung. Allah will give justice to those people who commit a crime against an innocent person. Do you understand that? So my dear people of Malaysia, please help me to help you. I'm fighting an uphill battle. Once before Najib, and now against the lackadaisical, the terrible attitude of some of the ministers and leaders of Pakatan Harapan. I have a right to criticize, and I hope you come forward. Don't be scared. Fear not, accept God's wrath. With that, once again I want to say to you, please, I'm begging you, surrender to the will of Allah. Your time, mind, body and soul to Allah. Have absolute faith He will defend us, protect us and guide us under all circumstances in the faces of evil Satan, evil money God, challenges, adversaries and enemies. By that standard, I fortified myself against my enemies. Because I know that so long as I surrender to Allah and beg and submit unconditionally to His protection, I have nothing to fear. And I beg you to follow. Because even if I have to be alone, I will go alone. But I'm asking for help. Join me in this struggle. Fear not. With that, I wish you a good day. And tomorrow, I believe, is a very great Islamic holiday, the birthday of a Prophet. May his blessings and Allah's blessings be upon all of you. And may you have a good, prayerful, holy and devotional day tomorrow. Thank you once again.